Hello, I'm Brian Rose, the founder of Biohackers United, and with this video I want to talk about my passion, and I want to talk about how humans can move into the fourth dimension. Now, just for a reference point, I wanted to talk about the leading biohackers. Right now we have Brian Johnson, who is blowing up social media and just launched a Netflix movie about age reversal. If you check out his website, which talks about his blueprint protocols, I think some of the amazing things that stand out about Brian Johnson, besides his ability to reduce not only his biological age, but also the rate of aging. If you look at his hair and his complexion, his current protocol and diet, I think you can really see it in his, like I said, in his skin, his physical appearance. It really stands out with his movement about don't die, which is basically to extend longevity. The next person, Nick Beer, is a fellow veteran, and I almost consider him superhuman. He launched BPN, which is Beer Performance Nutrition. I take his flight pre-workout supplement, but Nick Beer, he launched his movement is Go One More, which is basically, if you think about it, if you're doing bench press or if you're running 2 miles, his point is just go one more rep, go one more mile, just keep pushing yourself. And he's done both bodybuilding competitions, he's run marathons, which is incredibly, it's just phenomenal. He was running marathons with a 6-minute mile pace. He, like I said, he's a fellow veteran. He went through Ranger School. If you pull up his YouTube channel, he talks about his experience with Ranger School, but he built a business providing supplements to people in college, and he would combine ingredients into pre-workouts for his fellow roommates. And then we have next, we got to talk about Ben Greenfield. Ben Greenfield, he's like the encyclopedia when it comes to biohacks. I highly suggest, if you get a chance, pick up his book called Boundless. It's a complete, well, it's just about a complete list of different biohacks that cover everything from peptides to sleep to diet to coffee. It goes pretty fast as you go through each chapter. And Ben Greenfield, he really stands out. Besides his knowledge on implementing specific biohacks, he not only talks about, he implements in his own protocols, but kind of like Nick Beer, Ben Greenfield, he sets the stage with also his physical stature, his physical presence. He's in phenomenal shape. I saw him at A4M. It was last year, but he really walks the walk and talks the talk when you see him in person when it comes to his physique overall. Then we have Dave Asprey. Dave Asprey, he's the godfather of the biohacking movement. I've read just about all his books. If you get a chance, check out Superhuman. But he created this entire movement when it came to biohacking. He's really disrupted traditional medicine as far as letting people know that there's an alternative to traditional medicine, that there's different types of biohacks. He's got a phenomenal podcast with experts talking about a whole wide range of subjects. He also launched a new company called Danger Coffee. I drink coffee from time to time. His new coffee brand, it tastes fantastic. The best thing about Danger Coffee is he's reduced and eliminated mycotoxins. He's also remineralized the coffee itself. Instead of, like, I was drinking Starbucks before, which is absolutely trash compared to Danger Coffee. Once you try Danger Coffee, where It has, like I said, no microtoxins. It's got bold, fruity, different types of flavoring, but it sets a whole new level when it comes to quality coffee. But Dave Asprey, like I said, when it comes to nootropics, when it comes to everything, where a deep dive into different types of biohacks, check out his podcast. Myself, at the bottom, my background comes from growing up as a teenager. I would do lucid dreaming. I would alter my dreams. I was in the experience. I would consciously alter my brainwaves, and I would completely alter dreams specifically. I've gone on to additional brain training, which I'm gonna show you some of the devices, some of the programs I've been through. I went through 8 years of being in the military. I've done triathlons, marathons. I used nootropics to take the series 7, 63, 9, 10 securities exams, which are about 2 or 3 hours long. It's about, you have to score a 70 to pass. Literally like 60% of people who take the brokerage exams actually pass. So I've delved into nootropics, but I'm going to be talking about what today's discussion is going to be about, which is evolving humanity and as many people as possible from the third to the fourth dimension. And I'm going to be giving some examples. So as a starting point, let's discuss the fourth dimensions. So the first dimension is simply consisting of length. So it's simply drawing a straight line. Very simple. Second dimension, you get it into both length and width. So an example is a square or a circle, a drawing on a piece of paper. The third dimension is length, width, depth. An example is a cube, a sphere. In this example, it's the physical human body itself. So it's the outer physical part of the body itself. Now, getting into the fourth dimension. And this is where I'm going to start to guide people in this particular video about the possibility interacting with the fourth dimension. And my goal for other people, including myself, is giving people the awareness that they could transition when they pass to a permanent state in the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension includes time. In physics, the fourth dimension is considered to be time, which allows movement and change. Let me say that again. With the ability of movement, with time, you have the ability to go forward and backwards in time. Einstein's space-time continuum, which represents 3 dimensions of space with time. What I'm going to describe is an example of the fourth dimension is the outer body experience of your soul or divine light. And let me just also talk about the fourth dimension when it comes to time. Time is relative, and time is controlled and altered by magnetic forces. So the closer you get to magnetic forces, you can slow down time. I'm in Denver, Colorado. At higher elevation, time is faster. As you move further and further away from the core in the earth, which creates the electromagnetic field, time moves faster and faster. That is just a overview of what we're going to be talking about. This is an actual example what you can do as a person, and what I've experienced is an outer body experience. I'll do the other additional videos about talking through how I was able to accomplish an outer body experience, but you can do this both while you're living and when you do pass on at the end of your life. It's a complete, full outer body experience. Now, as you can see, the soul, the divine light, it is entering the fourth dimension. When you're in the fourth dimension, in that state, you can move through time and space. That is the fourth dimension that I'm talking about when it comes to transitioning to both on Earth and afterwards. Now, moving into the fourth dimension's been done thousands upon thousands of times. These are two historical examples of individuals who have worked with the fourth dimension. The first one, in black and white, is Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce, he would lay on a couch. He was called the sleeping giant. People would come to him and talk about their physical health problems. Edgar Cayce would enter a trance. I could do a separate video about how you can enter that trance, but when he entered the trance, he was able to come up with remedies and protocols that were able to heal people. He also made some psychic predictions, which you can look into, but he is most famous for going into that trance, accessing the information I call the ethereal plane or the Akashic records, accessing the information, helping people with their own health condition. The second person his name is Ingo Swann. Ingo Swann worked with the CIA, and he is famous for remote viewing. So he worked in the fourth dimension when it came to space and time with remote viewing projects, specifically with the government. He has several books I highly recommend. He talks about his protocol for remote viewing. He used the device that was called the God's helmet. It was a helmet and it had a electromagnetic device on top of the helmet itself, and it would emit electromagnetic waves specifically on the right hemisphere, and it would create, similar to Edgar Cayce, a trance state where he could remote view other locations on Earth and provided information for the military, but he did remote viewing throughout his lifetime. I wanted to give you two examples of people that are able to enter the fourth dimension historically that you can research and you can look up as examples. Okay, now we're gonna get into some of the ways you can enter the fourth dimension, and I need to start to talk about the different brain frequencies. So they recently discovered the epsilon waves are brain frequencies that are between 0 and 0.5 hertz. So you can consider epsilon waves are outer body experiences when people leave their body, like in a car crash, and then they come back to Earth. So during that state of being, they've documented the epsilon waves, which is slower than what we typically traditionally know as delta waves. Delta waves are when you're asleep. It was considered the slowest brain wave linked to deep sleep and healing. It's important for growth, cell regeneration, and deep unconscious states of being. Theta waves is like REM sleep, which is deep relaxation, creativity, subconscious processing, commonly like deep meditation or light sleep, where I was doing lucid dreaming before. That typically happens in theta waves. Alpha brain waves between 8 and 12 hertz. That's my natural or normal state of brainwave activity, which I've measured before with brain training we'll talk about. It's common during meditation, creativity, relaxation, flow state. I could help you if you want to increase your alpha brain waves. The next is beta brainwaves, which is between 12 and 30 hertz. Beta brainwaves, let me just say right now, my presentation right now that I'm delivering to you is being done in beta brainwaves. It's actively thinking, actively focused. It's in conversation with somebody else. High levels can cause stress and anxiety if you just can't shut off the higher frequencies. Gamma waves are typically between 30 and 100 hertz. Gamma waves are associated with high-level cognition, memory, consciousness, involved in problem-solving, peak mental performance, and spiritual experiences. Let me say specifically with gamma brainwaves, when you do training in gamma brainwaves, you sync the left and right hemisphere of the brain itself. So gamma waves specifically will cause coherence between the left and right side of the hemispheres of the brain themselves. Also, gamma waves have a direct correlation with delta waves. Tibetan monks, if you meditate for long periods of time, delta waves and years, a lifetime of meditation, it automatically elevates gamma waves during your normal state of consciousness. The last one, which is also relatively new, is the lambda waves, which is above 100 hertz. It typically is between 100 hertz and 200 hertz. So it's going beyond gamma and into lambda. Recent studies link the higher states of awareness, extreme cognitive function. Some researchers believe that it also interacts with the epsilon wave. So let me give a little bit of a overview. Epsilon waves will ride long waves like amplitude. Lambda waves will ride on top of it. It's kind of like an ocean's current. You'll have the undercurrent, the epsilon waves, and then you'll have the lambda waves that ride on top. This is true with gamma waves. Gamma waves can ride on top of delta waves. So that's a brief overview of brain frequencies. So I've completed the Vipassana meditation. We meditated for 8 hours a day for 10 days. During that training, I learned how to move energy through my body, and it elevated my alpha brain state on a regular basis, almost like a permanent shift of consciousness. I highly suggest looking into a Vipassana meditation retreat. They're free. They ask for a donation at the end. You basically will sit there for 8 hours a day. You get breaks, lunch, but you basically go to work, but for work you're meditating for 10 days straight. So I did that up in the state of Washington. Some of the devices that I used for part of the training I talked about, I went through the Vitania Brain Performance Training in Tempe, Arizona. We used the Versus headset, which is in the picture next to it. With the Versus headset, I altered my brain waves on demand. So I had to complete different courses like a golf course. I had to traverse through a helium balloon course, but I had to alter my brainwave in order to get through the course. Like I would do training where I had to maintain a beta brainwave level to get through a course. I had to do another navigation through the alpha state. So I was able to alter my brainwaves, and I could talk about how you could do the same thing and how you can tell when you're in alpha versus beta, and how you can use the Versus headset to basically train your brain to be in different frequencies on demand. Okay, getting into my training to become and enter the fourth dimension. I use the Brain Tap device to get into gamma frequency. They have several apps on your cell phone where it connects to the BrainTap device. The BrainTap device uses photon technology, which is where the headband, the visor is, with different modulating frequencies on both sides, and it will enter your brain into, right now they have it up to gamma, but I use gamma brain waves to unify the left and right hemisphere. On the other side, I use, and I really want to say special precaution, you really should work with the BrainTap device before you even attempt the lambda frequency. The lambda frequency is between 100 and 200 hertz. I use the Bose headset with the iAwake lambda frequency. I've used both combinations with ketamine sessions for outer body experiences, and I use both the lambda frequency with the BrainTap to elevate my brain waves, which you can track with like the Muse headset, to get into both gamma and then lambda frequency. My goal, if you're familiar with what the Tibetan rainbow body is, so the Tibetan rainbow body, it's with Buddhism, it's the end of samsara. So with human beings, we are reincarnated. If you're watching this video, you've been reincarnated. The goal of the rainbow body is to permanently enter the fourth dimension, and what Tibetan monks will do with a lifetime and years of meditation, they elevate the delta and epsilon frequency over their lifetime, which I talked about has a reciprocal effect on the higher levels of gamma and lambda frequencies. So you can train in the lower brain frequencies with meditation when it comes to at the end of life. That is what is, let's just say, simplistically described as the Tibetan rainbow body, where the divine light, your soul and energy, exits the body, but it retains that energy as it moves through the fourth dimension. When it moves through the fourth dimension, it escapes the cycle of reincarnation. Now, when you reach that point, you will have an option if you want to reincarnate and come back to Earth, but the whole purpose and goal is you elevate your body's vibrational frequency up to a certain level at the time of transition, and you permanently enter the fourth dimension. I hope this helps. I'll be talking about different specific techniques that I use for brain frequency training. If you have any questions, comments, reach out to me. This is just a general broad overview and kind of an introduction, but let me know, and I hope this helps.